guys, it's Grace. So today I'm going to be showing you how I dye my hair extensions. Now I always use semi-permanent dye, which I think is really important because it really doesn't damage your hair extensions, and if worse comes to worse, it will fade if you wash it enough times. So that is the kind of dye that I'm going to be using today, and I'm just going to show you how to dye your hair extensions if they came too light. Now, unfortunately, if your hair extensions are too dark for you, there's really not much you can do. Most hair extensions, human hair extensions, you can't lighten them, but you can darken them. So if you're iffy about what shade you are, always go lighter than darker, because you can always dye your extensions darker, whereas you can't dye your extensions lighter. So today what I'm going to be showing you is how to dye your hair extensions, and I focus mainly on the roots because the roots of my hair are much darker than the ends of my hair. And you can't really tell just sort of looking at my hair, but when you compare the ends of my hair to the roots of my hair, you can really tell that it's at least 4 to 5 shades lighter. So I'm going to be dyeing my extensions accordingly. And this is the finished product, by the way. You'll see what it looks like before I did it. But this is the finished product. I left the dye on my roots a little bit longer than on the ends to mimic that kind of natural ombre that I have in my hair already. I'll explain everything I do as I go along. Let's just get started. Okay, so step one, you're gonna want to put on a t-shirt that you don't care about. So I just have this bleached shirt that I've dyed my hair in a few times before. Step two is going to be, you need to choose a color that's gonna work for your extensions. So for me, my hair is a lot cooler shaded than my hair extensions are. So what I needed to do was to choose a color that was gonna be a cooler shade. And on the box, it actually looks like it's the same color as my extensions, but something I've learned is you always want to choose a color that looks a little bit too light than what you're going for. I've had dyes that look like a medium brown shade turn into completely jet black before, so just be aware of that. I always use semi-permanent dye on my extensions as well because it doesn't damage them, and if you mess up, you can always wash it out after a few washes. So for an ombre looking effect, you want to start putting the dye at the roots of the extensions towards the clips, and I'm concentrating the dye at the roots, leaving that on for about 10 minutes, and then putting the rest of the dye on the ends of the hair. This is super easy to do as long as you follow the instructions on the box. They always recommend that you do this on damp hair, so I always just dampen my extensions quickly before I put the dye on. I'm just going to show you guys how I do this. It's pretty self-explanatory, but just so that you have a visual. So once I've gotten the dye all over the roots of my extensions, I'm mixing some of the conditioner that comes with the dye with the remaining dye and adding that to the ends of it. Like I said, I want this to be an ombre effect, so it's going to be darker at the root and lighter at the ends like my natural hair, but I still do want to add some of that dye to the ends because it's a little bit too light. Adding the conditioner is just going to help dilute it a little bit, and then I'm going to leave this on for another, I'd say 7 to 8 minutes, because you don't want it to be the same shade as the roots. So just follow the instructions, leave the dye on for as long as you need to, rinse it out, condition it, and then what I like to do is I like to take a towel, I spread it out on my carpet, and then I just put the damp extensions without brushing them right onto the towel. If you brush them, a lot of times they'll break while they're wet, so you always want to brush extensions when they're dry. And then I just let them air dry overnight, and this is what they look like. I think it turned out really great, and I'm really happy with the result. I hope you guys found this video to be really helpful, and let me know what you guys want to see next.